Picture this: an ICU nurse, a cardiac alarm, seconds to decide. Choice: refer to an 848-page densely worded textbook versus referencing an illustrated image that lives in your head rent free. What are you going to choose?
I'd choose visual any day over text heavy information.
The difference could be life or death. And if we don't want to get too dramatic too quickly, it could also teach you things like which alarms to pay attention to. Or better yet, you could teach yourself some intricate ass visual shit that's so cool. You geek out hard to your non nursing friends about what a left fascicular block is, and you're so jazzed, but they're like, Daddy, chill. And you're like, but the fascicules. Visual learning isn't just better for ICU concepts. It transforms isolated facts into clinical patterns that nurses can recognize at the bedside. To see how that transformation happens, we're going to make 8 stops along the way to see why visual learning for ICU nurses is just the way to go. And before we get started, my name is Jon Farber. I'm an ICU nurse, nurse educator, and practicing artist, working to make critical care education a little bit more memorable and a little bit more fun. Okay, first up, the amount of cognitive load. And boy, howdy, the ICU cognitive load is a hefty one. Just the critical care environment itself is information overload. For example, this is a typical report we may hear on a daily basis. Inbound 58-year-old septic shock patient currently RAS negative 3 propofol at 35 mics tube with a number 822 at the lip, settings ACVC 18550 50% with a PEEP of 8. Levo running at 0.55 mics, lactate was 6.8 on admit. ABG was 7.16, 32, 17, 76. Had a 20 beat run of VTAC, now back in sinus TAC in the 120s with frequent multifocal PVCs. See in 5. Like, holy moly, that's a lot of information. And it's not even 7:30 yet. I need a double latte and a hug, please. I remember when I first started in the ICU back in, 2017, 17, during a report, it felt like people were speaking a completely different language. I'd write everything down, fill pages of notes, and then spend the rest of the shift trying to remember what was important. What finally changed wasn't that I suddenly got smarter, rather, I started seeing patterns. Instead of 20 separate facts, I started seeing septic shock, respiratory failure, or fluid overload as pictures in my head. Stop number 2: people remember pictures rather than words alone. This is through a phenomenon known as the picture superiority effect. Images create richer mental representations and engage multiple memory pathways, making them easier to encode, store, and retrieve for later. That's so cool. The picture superiority effect describes the tendency for images to be remembered more accurately and for longer periods than text alone. By pairing information with visual representations, learners can improve comprehension, retention, and recall. Stop 3: speed difference. It's crucial in the critical care setting. We can become faster without compromising safety by learning to recognize patterns more easily. If we as ICU and ER professionals bolster our pattern recognition, we can develop a keen eye and ear when it comes to things such as abnormal heart rhythms, ventilator waveforms, along with medication interaction effects, just to name a few. We as humans, specifically the badass professional critical care humans that we are, have an extraordinary cellular machine parked in our domes willing to do good work for us, which in turn is extended to our patients in a positive light. I'm talking about our brains, specifically a couple parts of our brains that can help us in our visual processing and memory. The first is the visual cortex, and the second is the hippocampus. These two are primary examples of the incredible capability of pattern recognition in the brain. The visual cortex is designed specifically for pattern recognition, and the hippocampus stores and organizes hecafacts as memories that can be stored throughout the cortex for long-term retrieval. It's like we have a pattern recognizing, totally hip, smarty pants librarian living rent-free in our domes. I think I'll name mine Walleye Wanda. She's from Minnesota. Her tater tot hot dish is to die for. Stop 4: there was this pretty incredible guy named Alan Pavios. He was a professor at the University of Western Ontario. He was also a bodybuilder in the 1940s. Holy moly, Alan, way to hit the gym. Well, Alan came up with this sweet theory about learning named the dual coding theory. According to Alan's theory, learning is strengthened when information is presented through words and images. By engaging verbal and visual memory systems simultaneously, learners create more connections and retrieval pathways, improving understanding and long-term recall. Apply this theory to ICU concepts such as hemodynamic monitoring and vent management, and we can recall information quickly through visual memory and or verbal memory. It's like having two keys to the same door. Stop number 5. ICU concepts involve spatial relationships, from the small stuff like where to place cardiac monitor leads to the harder stuff like blood flow through the heart and the corresponding cardiac numbers and pressures. For example, systemic vascular resistance, pulmonary artery pressures, and the cardiac index, to name a few. Employing spatial understanding is critical for three-dimensional equipment and patient care. Stop number 6. Visual protocols are not merely educational tools. They're patient safety tools as well. Standardized visual checklists have been associated with substantial reduction in medication errors, complications, and mortality by helping us, the clinicians, maintain situational awareness and consistency in high-risk environments. Stop number 7. The stress factor. Under stress, paragraphs disappear, pictures don't. And if you ever notice emergency protocols use symbols, colors, and visual hierarchies, this is super helpful during a code or a rapid when we need instant processing, not cited references from a thick ass book we read in nursing school.
Do not forget your APA formatting.
Stop number 8. There are practical applications for both the learner and the educator. For learners, we can convert written and typed notes into mind maps, as well as creating visual summaries. We can also use medical illustration apps and three-dimensional tools as well as models. You can also check out this sweet ass ICU field guide about central venous catheters, which is just laden with visuals, written by some guy.
The guy is him. He's talking about himself.
Way to promote your book by referring to yourself in the third person.
Well, I think it's pretty cool. It's a field guide that would be super helpful for new ICU and ER nurses.
Link in description below.
Oh, and you could also create mnemonics and visual stories. I'm a big fan of mnemonics. Here's one of my favorites. It's about lactulose for hepatic encephalopathy. So think of a bottle of lactulose as this chemical evacuation security guy, and he's yelling at all the ammonia molecules.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
The takeaway? The goal of lactulose is, well, it's not for comfort. The goal of lactulose is to poop. Poop out all the ammonia. So much poop. And when the nursing student asks,
How much more lactulose, sir?
the answer is always,
Until the patient questions your motives, lad.
wow, what a visual. Bet you'll never get rid of that one. And for the educators, we can replace dense manuals with easy to understand visuals. We can create things such as color-coded emergency protocols, and we can encourage a visual approach to our learning activities and environment. Well, folks, we've reached the end of the line. Please collect your belongings, thank Walleye Wanda for our service, and remember, visual learning isn't a luxury in ICU education. It's a practical tool for improving understanding, recall, and ultimately patient care. When seconds count, knowledge format matters. If you'd like more visual ICU content, illustrations, and bedside resources, check out rnartline.com. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what's one nursing concept that didn't make sense until you finally saw it drawn out? I'll see you in the next one. And if you want to learn about the anatomy of a central venous catheter, check out this video right here.